Are you struggling to come up with original content week in and week out? Start a podcast. Interview your ideal clients, let them talk about what they care about most, and never run out of content ideas again. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to B2B Growth, a daily podcast for B2B leaders. We've interviewed names you've probably heard before, like Gary Vaynerchuk and Simon Sinek, but you've probably never heard from the majority of our guests. That's because the bulk of our interviews aren't with professional speakers and authors. Most of our guests are in the trenches leading sales and marketing teams. They're implementing strategy. They're experimenting with tactics. They're building the fastest growing B2B companies in the world. My name is James Carberry. I'm the founder of Sweetfish Media, a podcast agency for B2B brands, and I'm also one of the co-hosts of this show. When we're not interviewing sales and marketing leaders, you'll hear stories from behind the scenes of our own business. We'll share the ups and downs of our journey as we attempt to take over the world. Just kidding. Well, maybe. Let's get into the show.
Welcome back to the B2B Growth Show. I'm your host for today's episode, Logan Lyles with Sweetfish Media. I am joined today by Kristy Krueger. She is the VP of Marketing at Revel. Kristy, how are you doing today?
Great. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us. We are honored to be the host of your first time as a podcast guest. So thank you for honoring us with that special occasion. We're going to be talking about some lessons learned, and you've got some fun examples to share with us on 3 secrets to a successful rebrand. But before we get into that, Kristy, although I'm really excited about today's topic, I would love for you to share with listeners a little bit about your background and what you and the team at Revel are up to these days.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you said, I head up the marketing team here at Revel. We are a health action platform. So basically what that means is we're trying to get people to do things that are good for them. So a health plan might be encouraging their members to go get your flu shot, or maybe you should talk to your doctor or take this health assessment so we know more about you and we can help you in the future. So our technology is built to help send out programs like that and really help people to be healthier. And that's kind of what we'll talk about in a successful rebrand is the mission of a company and staying true to that. So a little bit more about me. I really enjoy working with companies that are growing, especially within technology. And that's really what drew me to Revel, is helping them define their vision and mission and how they're going to bring that to the market and show the world that they're doing something really phenomenal and being part of a company that is touching so many lives and making a difference and working with a team that is true to that mission is what I'm always drawn to. So those are the kind of companies that I love to help grow and build their brand around what really matters.
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing better than being part of an organization where you can really get behind the mission. And if you couple that with just the fun of being part of a fast growth company, I don't think there's any better mixture than that. So I am right in lockstep with you there, Kristy. And you already foreshadowed it a little bit. I was going to make that segue anyway. You know, you talked about helping people do things that are better for them. And, you know, that's a great way and a great mission that Revel has, obviously. And I know this was the first secret that you mentioned to a successful rebrand is finding your mission. Tell us a little bit more about where this fits in.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the reason why that is a secret is because most people think a rebrand is just about, oh, let's make the logo look better. Let's maybe change the name to something more exciting. Let's, put a new brand voice out there. But it is so much more than that. A brand is the soul of the company. It's really the why. It's why people come to work every day and work so hard. And if you can band around that idea of what is it? What is your promise to the world? What is it that makes your brand matter? Your company can do anything if everybody is aligned around that and behind it. If you can go home to your kids at night and say, wow, my company's really doing something great. Today, we are working to make the world a healthier place. And these are some of the things that we do. If you can honestly go home to your family at night and say, I did something that mattered, then your work matters. And you're so much more engaged with what you're doing. And that then turns around and is shown to your clients and it helps them to be more successful. So the biggest thing that I do when I'm going into a rebrand is to help a company understand what the soul of the brand is and why it matters. A lot of times they'll look at that and they'll be like, oh, this is a waste of time. This is just marketing fluff. And it's like, no, this is so much far. This is so beyond that. This is about why you tell your team that they're coming into work and what you're doing to make the world a better place in some way. So when we came to Revel, the company was called HealthTel. And we constantly got these questions of like, oh, are you, an IVR shop? Are you, outsourcing live agents to make calls to people? And it's like, no, we are way more than that. And we wanted to showcase that in the rebrand. But part of that was just going deeper and saying, let's build a new orientation around our beliefs. Let's not just go out to market and say, we're going to get your members to do things that are great for them. Let's talk about why we're doing that. We're doing that to make the world a healthier place through innovation and through fanatical teamwork and through brilliant creativity. And that is our mission. And those three things at the end, the innovative technology and the fanatical teamwork and brilliant creativity, those are our core values. So we built those into the mission, and everybody on the team knows what that is. If you don't know the promise that you're making with your brand, how can you deliver on that? So that's all great. Let's say you're rebranding and your company already has a really strong mission. You've already done that work. That's awesome. At that point, then it is, what's the truth of your brand? How are you letting that show to the world? How are people seeing that? What experience are they having? And internally too, how is the company living and breathing that mission so that it is real? Because a brand is a promise at the end of the day.
Yeah, I was just listening to an interview on the Story brand. I'm a big fan of Donald Miller, and he talks about the Story brand framework, and it applies to marketing, it applies to brand, it applies to leadership, and that's letting people know, where are we going, why does it matter, and what role do I have to play? And I think you make a really great point there, that it's not just external, it's internal as well. Your feeling about the brand as an employee and how you talk about it with your family, because that's the story that you want clients to be a part of as well. And it can't go external until it's internal, right?
Right. Absolutely.
I love it. So the next thing you wanted to talk about, Kristy, was this idea of keeping your sense of wonder. So you start with why. A lot of people, are somewhat familiar with that through, Simon Sinek and the Golden Circle and that sort of stuff. A lot of similarities to what you're talking about there. So we move out from there and we start to think about keeping your sense of wonder as you're thinking about this rebrand. Tell us a little bit more about this.
Yeah, I think it's another secret, because people always think, well, it's business. We can't be crazy and we can't do innovative things, but not doing those things means you're status quo. And keeping your sense of wonder kills the status quo. It opens up the door to new possibilities. And that's why I love a rebrand and I love that work, because now you have permission to go in and look at it with a new lens and say, how can we push the envelope? How can we take this further? What can we do? And when we looked at Revel, one, the name is very different from HealthTel. We completely went the other direction because we wanted to look different from everyone else who's in our market. And it is a crowded market. Member engagement, there's a ton of players, lots of companies that do it really well. What makes us different? You hear in marketing, it's a sea of sameness. It's, you look the same as your competitors, you talk the same as your competitors. At the end of the call, people are like, what makes you different? I'm not sure I understand. It has to kill the status quo when you do a rebrand. And it's that opportunity to spark new ideas and new ways of looking at things and to truly be innovative. People are naturally curious. People want to see creativity. They like it when they see it. So one of the things we tried to do is go towards a new brand voice, which is more storytelling, more making it more human. And we are in B2B. So sometimes people will push back on that and they're like, but we need to be professional. It's like, you can be professional and you can be inspiring and different at the same time. And sometimes to stand out is just to say something differently or say it with fewer words or tell a story. So that's one of the things that we looked at when we rebranded as Revel, is how do we really make sure that they understand we are different. And they walk away and they're like, wow, that's so different than anything else I've seen. One of the ways we went to market in what I call brand 2.0. So we rebranded a year ago and then we freshened up some things. And we had a manifesto. We said, we know that healthcare communications are broken today. Members don't like the way health plans are communicating to them. They're sending them these long forms, 5 pages for each family member to do an assessment. That's not good enough. Expectations of consumers today are a website's going to load in 3 seconds on a mobile phone. I'm going to be able to go to Starbucks and they're going to know what I want before I want it. These are the expectations that we're dealing with in every other industry. But with healthcare, your expectations are, I'm going to wait at the doctor's office for at least 15 minutes before they call my name. I'm going to have to fill out a form that, they already have my information, but somehow they don't have it. And it's a lot of wasted time. And so we're saying that that's not okay, that we're here to change that and make it better by using technology to remove the friction and speed things up. And we're just talking about member engagement. We're just talking about, getting people to know that they should go get their flu shot and make sure that they do it, and making sure that they go see their doctor on an annual basis, that they take their medicines, that they, take a cancer screening kit if they're at high risk. So these are all very basic things, but it's amazing how hard it is to get people to do things and take action. And so we really wanted to showcase that not only are we different, we're making a difference. We're doing something that's going to help people. And so why not use that in our brand and show that we recognize that things are wrong and we want to do it in a way that'll make it even better. And we were inspired by an agency here in Minneapolis called Space 150. And the reason why we did Brand 2.0, which was essentially another rebrand, was because Space 150 changes their logo every 150 days because they're a creative shop. And that's how they keep themselves, innovative and looking at things in new ways. And yes, that's a lot of time, a lot of resources, and a lot of work, but it keeps them creative and it keeps them excited and it keeps them curious and innovative. And so we went along those lines and said, let's update our message and the way that we look every 6 months because our competitors are not doing that.
All right, today's growth story is about search engine marketing. Clear Company is an HR tech company that was doing a lot of things right. Their messaging was clear, their product produced incredible results, but they were struggling to drive qualified traffic to their website. Then they found Directive Consulting, a B2B search marketing agency. Within the first 12 months of working with Directive, Clear Company was able to increase their qualified lead volume by 157%. I have a hunch that Directive can get these kind of results for you too. So head over to directiveconsulting.com and request a totally free custom proposal. That's directiveconsulting.com. All right, let's get back to this interview.
What are some of your thoughts there, Kristy, on how you do that without kind of adding some brand confusion to it,
Sure.
right? I've heard people talk about, the Google example of putting their logo in, different formats almost daily, right? And that's kind of like, branding no from
Right.
branding 101. So what are your thoughts there on kind of how to balance that?
I think you still have to stay true to your why and stay true to your mission. So it's not necessarily that I would recommend changing your logo every 150 days. Space 150 does that because they're a creative shop. For us, it's changing the message. It's like changing what our theme is. What is our main thing that we're going to market with? So right now it's the manifesto of healthcare communications is broken and here's how we can fix it. In the next 3 months, we're launching something new that might be around a different theme, but it's still connected to health action and making people healthier. It's just kind of putting another layer on it so it doesn't get, static, so that you see dynamic changes.
Yeah. So you see dynamic changes to the relevancy of what's going on. So it's kind of an update. So it's not stale or static. That makes a ton of sense. So the third point you wanted to emphasize in that's really important in a successful rebrand, Kristy, is inspiring people. And I think we've talked about using humor. We've talked about, making sure that you're communicating your mission both internally and externally. So that leads really naturally to inspiring people. And it's a lofty goal, but you had some specific examples that really kind of break down strategically how you can do this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I was saying, keeping your sense of wonder is also an opportunity to inspire people. When you're putting new messages out there and you're looking at things in a new way, how can you inspire your audience? You have to take a few chances sometimes, and looking out and seeing what other marketers are doing, even in the B2C space, is okay. they're doing some great marketing. And so why not be inspired by that and see if you can use that? So one example, and this, I actually stole this from the Marketing Profs B2B forum that was just in San Francisco a couple weeks ago. And one of the presenters talked about Emerson. The CMO of Emerson was really inspired by, of all things, a commercial about Barbie. It's dads who play with Barbie. So I'm going to play a clip of that, and then we'll dive deeper into that.
Sundays are always football, and now that gets interrupted with a little Barbie time.
Man, I love that opening there. You know, as a huge football fan, I never miss a Broncos game. Unfortunately, we'll see how our season's going to end up, but I try to walk this balance of, you know, Sundays aren't all about football, although it's important to me. Sundays are all about family. So I try to balance that with, you know, hey kids, let's watch the Broncos game together. But otherwise, you know, the game is sitting on the DVR until, 7 at night while I spend time with the family, and I turn all my text notifications off so I don't get any spoilers.
Right. Or you're at a soccer game and the game's going on and you're like, don't tell me the score.
Yes. Plugging my ears. Absolutely.
Yes. But, this is a modern dad that we're seeing here. And there's such an emotional connection there when they say time spent in her imaginary world is an investment in her real world. And we all know that with our families. It's just like those moments, you don't get those back. And you want to spend time with your kids and you want to have that connection. And if it's a mom playing football with her son or a dad playing Barbie, it all counts, and that's an emotional thing. And so Emerson's CMO watched that and she was like, I need to find a way to replicate this in my B2B world, right? Mm-hmm. And so they had just established their values within the company, an engineering culture. So mm-hmm. very professional, very, probably not what you're expecting, what she did. So she had the employees' kids come in and explain the values on video and made a video of it for the company. So let's just take a look at this one real quick too.
No, that's the word of the month at our school.
My definition would be like the state of being honest with others.
It's like being trustworthy, being brave.
It's when you do the right thing, even when no one is watching. That's what it says on our pantry door.
Well, that is a great application of taking that storytelling and that humanness from B2C to B2B, right? We get kind of hung up on that divide, but then when we think about it, we're still communicating to other humans, right? Even in B2B.
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, we all want to be inspired. We are all curious, and that's what makes us human. And B2B is human. And I think one of the greatest sessions that I went to at that B2B marketing conference was about Mr. Rogers and how he was such a great communicator. And, the movie's coming out about him. So it's like a very relevant topic right now. But I did not realize what a great communicator he was and what he did for mm-hmm. our society. And I'll leave it, end it with this quote from Fred Rogers, which was, "The greatest gift is being your honest self." And I think that is so true for people, for humans, and also for the brand.
Yeah. When you think about it, your brand is a company that's made up of humans. And, I don't know if this is where that quote came from, but, you mentioned the new movie coming out, the documentary, Won't You Be My Neighbor, about Fred Rogers, I thought was phenomenal as well. And one of the things I noticed was, when he was presenting to Congress or whatever the case was, basically making the case for funding for public television, he was facing kind of this stern-faced audience. And he was not only a great communicator and made his point succinctly, but the passion and the emotion and the humanness of what he was trying to get across was very, very evident. And I think that's what made him a great communicator. And I think that lesson to be applied to B2B marketing, maybe folks aren't making that leap, but I think there is a direct correlation there. So I think that's a fantastic example to end things on, Kristy. I really appreciate you bringing some insights. We'll link to some of the resources you mentioned in the show notes. But if anybody would like to stay connected with you, ask any questions of you, since you have a great amount of experience in rebrand and marketing in fast growing companies, what would be the best way for people to reach out?
LinkedIn is a good spot.
Awesome. Well, Kristy, again, I really appreciate you making time for this interview. Thanks for allowing us to host you on your first podcast interview. I thought you brought a lot of value to our listeners, so we really appreciate it.
Right. Thank you so much.
Digital marketing agencies have a tough job. You have to stay on top of the latest marketing strategies for your clients and your agency. What if there was a way you could address both at the same time? Imagine your agency putting out content with greater quality and quantity. Envision bringing your clients a turnkey solution for one of B2B marketing's fastest growing media strategies, podcasting. You know all those clients asking for your help with their account-based marketing efforts? Picture being the first to bring them the idea of content-based networking, showing them the proven strategy for breaking into their most coveted accounts. Here's the concept. Sweetfish Media is looking to work with a limited number of innovative agencies interested in a new partnership model. We produce a podcast for your agency. You introduce the power of podcasting and Sweetfish services to your clients. Everybody wins. Learn more at sweetfishpartners.com.